Real talk. Do you have any ideas on how to keep I-70 running during a snowstorm and ski traffic? Because our Mark Salinger looks at the best ideas out there now, and you decide what you think.
If there are any certainties in life, death, taxes, and I-70 traffic would top the list.
It can be really brutal.
There's no denying the interstate was a slip show this holiday weekend. On Monday night, Colorado State Patrol said conditions were so bad and so many cars were stuck, they almost had to shut down a 50-mile stretch of road.
They were actually thinking about shutting down the roadway from Golden to Silverthorne.
Trooper Sherry Mendez says Colorado's traction and chain laws are supposed to try and stop this from happening. Drivers on certain highways are required to have certain treads on tires in the winter. Truck drivers must carry chains.
A lot of people are not familiar with the traction law.
State Patrol gave out more than 1,200 citations to truckers who disobeyed the chain law in 2023. The following year, there were nearly 1,100 citations. But the number of tickets written to drivers in cars with the wrong tires is far less. Only 60 in 2023 and 50 in 2024. The mayor of Vail has seen enough.
Clearly what we have in place is not working.
Mayor Travis Coggins wrote a letter to the governor last week asking for change. He's seen I-70 shut down far too often because of drivers not following the law.
Every time there is a chain law that's in effect, there are truckers and commercial vehicles that are 100% not following the law.
He supports higher fines for those who aren't in compliance. There are other ideas, too.
Getting home on Friday from here took me 2 extra hours because of a closure.
Democratic State Senator Dylan Roberts represents much of northwestern Colorado, including parts of the I-70 corridor.
These trucks, when they come into Colorado, often are being driven by drivers who have never been here before, don't know how to drive in the snow, and definitely don't know how to put chains on.
He's proposing a bill this legislative session that would allow third-party vendors to set up shop along the interstate and help put chains on trucks for a small fee.
More chains on means less crashes, less spinouts, and less delays.
If tickets and enforcement are keeping the roads clear, maybe literally helping people put the chains on will.
That's the ultimate goal, right? Is not to give everybody tickets, but to make sure that the highway stays open.
Another challenge in keeping I-70 clear is avalanches. There's a lot of snow up there. CDOT finished blasting some areas around the interstate this morning, with some avalanches even flowing onto the road below it. Without that mitigation, we could see even more avalanches impacting cars and roads in the mountains. Kyle, I'm intrigued to see what people come up with ways to keep it clear, but I actually don't think that it's a bad idea to help people chain up, especially if you get drivers or truckers coming in from out of state, from Texas, who show up in flip-flops and shorts.
I'm just like picturing like these like little shops along the side of the road where people are like shaking chains,
chains?
and like, what are you gonna do?
I had a friend from California. He texted me the other day saying, "Hey, I'm coming up. Do I bring my chains?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, it depends on your car.
Yeah, no, listen, just ride the bus, man. Just ride the bus. Mark Salinger, thank you. A Democratic state senator has abruptly resigned years into an ethics investigation into allegations that she mistreated her staff. Senator Sonia Jaquez Lewis of Longmont is out. She quit this morning, right before the Senate Ethics Committee revealed that a letter of support submitted by one of her aides was fabricated.
Didn't prepare anything, because how could I have, right?
Nothing says you're innocent of ethics charges like resigning hours before the Ethics Committee meets to discuss your case. Democratic Senator Sonia Jaquez Lewis quit rather than face a fat stack of claims, including that she used aides to do yard work, to bartend a party at her home, that she withheld wages from some staff while improperly paying others out of campaign funds.
I want to say that I am sorry for what happened to all of those employees, or technically what was alleged to have happened, but what we all may know to be true.
Jaquez Lewis had prepared a defense. In fact, might have done a little too much of the preparation. The Ethics Committee says a letter of support she submitted from a former aide was fabricated. That woman told the committee she wanted no part of defending Jaquez Lewis.
She was, quote, dumbfounded to hear my own name spoken in reference to Exhibit 4 in Senator Jaquez Lewis's response, end quote. She further stated she had not spoken to Senator Jaquez Lewis in the last year and that, quote, under no circumstances was I the author of the letter that bears my name, end quote.
Legislative legal staff say Jaquez Lewis claimed the fabricated note was based on prior conversations with the staffer. The committee told her to turn over evidence that the rest of her letters of support weren't fake. Rather than provide proof, She ran for the exit.
Yesterday evening, Monday, February 17th at 7:15 p.m., Senator Hawkes Lewis emailed Senate President Coleman and Secretary of the Senate Van Morik her resignation from the Senate, effective immediately.
She's out. Hawkes Lewis's resignation did not mention the ethics kerfluffle, said she was going to work for a nonprofit. She texted me that the fraudulent letter was submitted by accident, would not tell me on the record if she wrote it. Well, speaking of awkward workplace conflicts, today Colorado Senate Democrats advanced a bill making it easier for unions to organize. Republicans don't like it, but there's so few of them at the Capitol, they're just a speed bump. It's Governor Coldest whose opposition could kill it. Federal law currently allows employees to unionize with a simple majority vote, but a bill that passed the Senate this morning would repeal the Colorado-specific Labor Peace Act. That requires a second supermajority vote for unions to be allowed to negotiate union security. Those agreements allow unions to collect certain fees from even non-union employees. The bill's sponsor and labor advocates have argued that unions in Colorado are required to protect all employees, not just the union members, so they should be able to recoup some of those costs. The bill now heads to the House for debate. Even if it passes, it's not certain if it'll become law. The governor, a Democrat, has said he will veto fellow Democrats' bill unless it gets the backing of the business community. Not an idle threat. Polis nixed 3 labor-backed bills last year. So let's review how Colorado Democrats' recent attempts at gun control usually work. First, they unveil a sweeping gun control bill. The gun rights lobby then says it's the end of the world. Then some Democrats, and often the governor, express hesitation. The bill inevitably gets watered down to be far less sweeping. The gun rights lobby still says it's the end of the world. Our Spencer Soysher looks at how a bill that would have banned new sales of many guns now won't.
Drip, drip, drip.
This is the pathway that we moved forwards to.
State Senator Tom Sullivan's bill to ban the manufacture and sale of some semi-automatic guns with detachable magazines just passed through the state Senate, but it's dripping with water.
Anytime you can put a speed bump there, I think that helps.
Senate Bill 3 now has an exemption. Someone could still buy one of those guns if they're vetted by their local sheriff and take gun safety training classes. That exemption was added to appease Governor Jared Polis.
That was a very lengthy conversation that we had with the governor, and that's what his team was concerned about, was the hunters and the sportsmen.
You would think Senate Republicans would be happy to not just have a blanket ban. Senate Minority Leader Paul Lundeen disagrees.
It's about government taking away from people natural rights and calling them privileges, demanding that they meet certain criteria to have what was previously a right, because government is now trying to turn it into a privilege. It's far worse. It is broader than now a firearms ban.
Sullivan would have liked to not have the exemption in the bill, but
I believe they're frustrated more than I am, and that's not always a bad thing.
The practice of watering down bills to appease the governor is not new. In 2023, Democrats introduced a bill stripping liability protections away from gun manufacturers. It only became law after the legislature removed provisions requiring gun makers to avoid selling to children, criminals, or people who may hurt others. Democrats also failed on an assault weapons ban in 2023, and then again last year. They also had to water down another bill about so-called sensitive spaces, where people could not carry guns. But Sullivan rejects the notion that their gun bills get rinsed off.
No, I don't believe that. I believe that we've made meaningful legislation in the 6 years that I've been here.
The governor's office told us he's been involved in working on this bill in order to accommodate hunters and people who shoot for sport. The classes people would take could be under any place licensed by Colorado Parks and Wildlife to do it.
As Senator Sullivan has said, he sees this as a step-by-step process, and no matter what they pass, we know that the gun lobby is going to fundraise off of it, and they're going to sue, and sometimes they win.
It certainly seems to be the approach.
Spencer Soysher, thank you.
Light snow in Denver, heavy snow on I-70, where we're seeing some slow travel, and they're dealing with Arctic cold. The greatest impact with the cold and snow tonight and early tomorrow will be Berthoud Pass and Rabbit Ears Pass, with an improvement on driving over all of the passes by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning. A few flurries in Denver. The roads are dry, much improved over the commute over the North Metro earlier today. A bitter cold day. Started at 4 degrees, warmed, if you can call it that, to 12 degrees. And if we go to -3, which is our forecast low for tonight, very, very close to the record of -4. This will be the coldest night. We're already at 4 degrees at DIA. We've already got wind chills to 15 and 20 below. These numbers will go even colder overnight. Extreme cold warning and a cold weather advisory out for eastern Colorado, and that's for wind chills 25 to 30 below. Watching some snow bands over northeastern Colorado. I think Denver misses out on the snow tonight. A few flurries, dry conditions. You're actually going to get some sunshine tomorrow, but tomorrow will be just as cold in the mid-teens. And then we kind of bust out of this deep freeze. So accumulation tonight will be very light, if anything at all. 7-day forecast, we have potential weather impact for the bitter cold tomorrow. Snow showers possible Thursday night. We warm up Friday, and then look at your weekend. Sunshine and 60s for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
The most Colorado thing we saw today hasn't even happened yet. This is a preemptive declaration because tonight's Colorado Rapids Los Angeles Football Club match has the potential to be the coldest game in Colorado pro sports history. Forecast temperatures at the start, 5 degrees. 5 degrees. Colder than the coldest Broncos game in history, 7 degrees at kickoff against the Chargers in 1972. Colder than the 12-degree CU Buffs game in 1991. Colder than the CSU Rams record, 18 degrees at kickoff, 1996. And more frigid than the Rockies, who are perennially cold, but never so much so than at their 23-degree game in 2013. Question. You're welcome to email me on this. Next@9news.com, text next 303-871-1491. Of all of Colorado's coldest games, which is the best ticket and which one is the worst? If you think that I'm going to freeze my nether regions off to watch the Rapids play to a 0-0 tie in 5-degree cold, you're crazy. Normally, I would just say, like, give me that NFL football, right, in any weather. 1972 Broncos, pretty brutal. They came into that game 3-9. Now, would have loved to see Floyd Little play, but maybe just a little, and then leave at the half. That Rockies game in 2013, the warmest of the pack, but that was before they added the party deck, so you actually had to watch them play. Pretty brutal. Send me your best ticket, worst ticket of Colorado's coldest games. Rapids, Broncos, Buffs, Rams, Rockies, or just the story of your coldest Colorado sports experience. I bet there's some good ones out there. And say a little prayer for those Rapids fans tonight.
Are you like replying all to each other? Like, how's this working?
We're literally replying all to each other.
The state government just failed email 101, put people's business in full view of hundreds of strangers. Denver City Council says the city has a gas problem. They are considering new limits on gas stations to make room for housing. Hey, a reminder, you can catch Next streaming each night at 6 p.m. on 9 News Plus, and Next is now a podcast. It's like the show, but for your ears. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You don't want to be the guy who replies all to an email. Nobody likes the reply aller, except maybe today, because the reply all helped a group of people realize their email addresses had been exposed in a message from the state labor department. One woman on that list of more than 200 people told our Steve Steger about her privacy concerns.
I received an email at 12:56 p.m.
Winter Jones didn't think the email from Colorado's Paid Family Leave Division applied to her. It's essentially a collection notice saying she'd been overpaid benefits and it's time to pay up.
I don't think I owe an overpayment, so I was just going to ignore the email, to be honest.
Until the replies started.
The gentleman was very irate.
One after another.
Are you like replying all to each other? Like, how's this working?
We're literally replying all to each other.
Replying all because Witter realized the to column on that original email had more than 200 addresses in it. We're going to go a step further than the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment did here and blur them out. but each one of those blue blobs on your screen right now is someone's email address. And they all appear to be people who received paid family leave benefits. Steve on your side even found the address of a guy we recently did a story on.
You guys sent this email to all of us at one time, and it's not private.
Winter has obvious privacy concerns with her email being out there, so she sent a complaint to the Colorado Attorney General.
I sent this to not only 9 News, but Channel 7 News as well. And
They didn't call you back, did they?
They have not called me back, no. And I do appreciate 9 News definitely reaching back out.
CDLE did get back to her an hour later with an email acknowledging the mistake.
No other personal or financial information was compromised. How do we know that?
And the email says the agency takes privacy seriously.
If they took privacy as seriously as they say they do, this never would have happened to begin with.
For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
Steger shading Channel 7 like that. That's not right. The state tells Steve the addresses should have been on the BCC line. They promised to talk to their staff about it. Donald Trump's famous phrase, "You're fired," is now being followed by, wait, we didn't mean to fire you. Another federal agency tries to unfire purged workers who are doing life-saving work.
I've never had one call of someone saying, "Councilman, I need to fill up my tank and I don't know where to go."
Denver is a gassy city and one without enough housing. City Council has an idea about that next. As billionaire Elon Musk and his team fire federal employees left and right, often it appears with little understanding of what they actually do, another federal department is now trying to rehire people it kicked to the curb just days ago. Yesterday, we told you how the Department of Energy, led by Colorado's Chris Wright, was desperately trying to find and rehire some of the people who manage America's nuclear weapons. Holy cow. Now it's the USDA's turn. NBC News reports this weekend the Agriculture Department accidentally fired several employees working on the government's response to the bird flu outbreak. In a statement to NBC, the Department of Agriculture said they are working to swiftly rectify the situation. Denver City Council is considering a cap tonight on new gas stations. Proposal would ban new gas stations being built within a quarter mile of existing gas stations and public transit stations. Exceptions would be made for large grocery stores that also happen to sell gas, but not for smaller, like convenience stores with gas stations. I'll show you a current map of where new gas stations can go. Red dots are the current gas stations. Blue is where the new ones would be allowed under this. Bill sponsors say there's no shortage of gas stations in Denver. There isn't enough affordable housing, particularly, they say, near mass transit.
I think we've struck a really good balance here between having enough gas stations to service the needs of our residents and visitors to Denver, and what we know is an actual crisis, which is not having enough housing.
Buckle up for public comment at council on that tonight. Your feedback is all about cold weather games in Colorado. Some great stories next. Best cold weather sports experiences that you've ever had in Colorado. A couple of you, Ray and Mark, wrote in talking about the Snow Classico. That was the soccer match against Costa Rica where they were shoveling off the sidelines. Those poor Costa Ricans. Shelley said pretty sure that she attended a colder than 5-degree CSU Rams game in 1973. She says pretty sure I was there in spirit or spirits. There's a lot of that too. Yeah, that banquet blanket helps. Mary says we drove from Wisconsin through a blizzard to attend a CU game, froze our blanks off, and it ended in a tie. The game was in '91. Chuck and Robert were there as well. Dave said his coldest was watching Kim Christensen twirl a baton at A West. That's cold.